Okay, I want to thank our audience. Welcome to the Ready, Set, Gemini podcast. I am your host, Dan Mora, and my co-host directly across from me.
Hey, everybody, it's Frank.
Thank you for joining us. As always, we would love feedback. We love your comments, your likes, your follows, all that fun stuff, yeah?
Oh, yeah, subscribe.
Okay, so right now we're going to talk about, there was 10 cannabis marijuana bills that the governor signed this year.
Oh, wow.
10.
I didn't know that. I thought we were going to be talking about one.
Well, we kind of are going to focus on one. This was AB 2188, and this is applicable to workers' compensation in some way, and especially employers, because it is now unlawful for an employer to discriminate against a person in hiring, termination, or any term or condition of employment, or otherwise penalize a person solely because of off-duty marijuana usage.
So I want to know, maybe you've done some research on this, is how would they be able to tell the difference between off-duty and like on-duty without catching someone in the act?
Before I answer that, I want to give you a highlight on some of the other ones.
Sure, sounds good.
So there's one, it's in interstate commerce, and this allows commerce from California to and from other legal states. And this is contingent on an official assurance that the activity would not put the state at risk of federal enforcement.
What if you have to go through, like I'm thinking of driving, like you'd have to drive through a state that's, like if you're talking about distribution, for example, it's a form of commerce.
Right.
How do you drive through a state that has it illegal to show up at one that does?
I don't know. I don't know how I didn't research that one, but that's interesting.
So this also allows for people from other states that are legal to start filtering stuff into California.
Correct,
as well.
Yeah. I mean, you can fly from California to Colorado, but I don't know if you can go through legal states to get to Colorado driving.
Sure.
But there's Oregon and Washington. And so another one bill it was a bill to seal records for previous cannabis convictions.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's violent, that's different.
yeah. And then that wouldn't be sealed.
Probably not.
Yeah. But if you were trafficking, like if you had a grow operation in national forest and you damage the environment, I don't want that to be sealed.
Right.
You know, if you're talking about possession or,
Right.
you know, some kid selling even a lot, whatever, but
Yeah. Another one prohibits localities from banning medical cannabis deliveries in their areas. So a good example is like a rural area that has somebody has a medical license.
I like that too.
They can't be prohibited from receiving care in that way. Another one is this one's interesting. I'm curious what you think about this. You're an animal lover, but it authorizes cannabis products for non-human and protects veterinarians who issue cannabis recommendations for pets.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. I mean, I've given my dog CBD. You know, it's a pain reliever.
Yeah.
I don't know if it works, but why not? I mean, if you're using it for legitimate medical purposes on an animal, if you can use it on a person, why can't you use it on a pet?
Yeah, we have a dog that has anxiety, like loud noises.
Okay.
Freaks her out, and she'll like she's gonna die from a heart attack one day from this. It's a problem. She's gonna literally just go one day from having anxiety. So this might help.
Yeah.
Another one, this is kind of interesting. It mandates social workers who are called to investigate child welfare issues to handle marijuana use in the same way that they do for alcohol.
I think that's good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody under 18 should be using cannabis products unless it's like prescribed by a doctor, like seizures, things like that, epilepsy, whatever, cancer.
Yeah. So if you
shouldn't be letting your 6-year-old kid get access to your alcohol either.
Yeah, I think it's like intoxicated parents too. That also applies to that aspect of things.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, marijuana intoxication versus alcohol intoxication, pretty different.
Very different.
You know, I think if you had a significantly drunk person try to race a significantly high person, I think like 90% of the time, like the drunk person's going to crash. The high person, maybe not so much. Now that compared to what they would be if they were sober, it's a good question. But I'd like to see studies on this stuff. Like they're making decisions. Are they coming from like studies?
Yeah, I did a little bit of study on this, and like Colorado, they've probably led the way in recreational use, and so they have some good stuff. So further in this AB 2188 eliminates employment-based THC testing, with exceptions for certain positions such as federal employees and those working in construction. Yeah.
Okay, this testing piece, that's what I'm kind of curious. So if we go back, like, do they have tests that can tell the difference? Because
so
if you're a construction worker, what does that matter? Like if you got stoned the day before, go ahead and let them swing a hammer the next day. Now, if you're stoned on the job, you know, you're putting yourself at greater risk for injury. You know,
so they have blood tests that is a 4 to 6 hour. You can get reliable results. Usage within 4 to 6 hours is is what you can test for in blood. For urine, it's 2 days to 6 weeks. So that's a little bit more urine 2 6.
I mean that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. 2 days to 6 weeks.
So you have to take a blood test. So
right. So if you have an accident, theoretically,
smash your thumb, got to go take a blood test.
Sure. There's probably edge cases. You smash your thumb. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, and you didn't get to bed till midnight, and you smoked a joint and at midnight. I wonder how that's going to be treated. The hair is still interesting, but that's like 1 centimeter of hair, and it's 30 days. So it's kind of the same as the urinalysis is probably.
Except it's more difficult to trick, right? Like a lot of these urine tests, they trick them, right? They just have fake urine, or they take somebody else's urine, whatever.
So Colorado, I looked at their official site, the GOV site, and the blood test is a delta of 9 more than 5 nanograms.
Okay.
Yeah. What the hell does that mean?
So it's probably like a level of accuracy. Nanogram seems very small. Obviously nano.
Yeah. They recommend on the .gov site, if you smoke and it's 35 milligrams, wait 6 hours. And then if you ingest it, if you eat it, or drink it, 18 milligrams, 8 hours. That's what they suggest.
So bunch of union workers going to start getting stoned on the job? Is that what's going to go down? And then like, is that going to increase? I mean, maybe the applicant attorneys are like, hoorah, because there's going to be a lot more injured workers and they get to help them out.
I don't think anybody wants more injured workers.
Nobody wants more. But I mean, like from an economic perspective, is it going to increase? Is it going to change anything? I kind of think it's not going to change anything. I think more people will smoke, but I don't think there's going to be a lot more injuries.
I've asked around our clients a little bit to see how much this plays in their day-to-day, and it's so little. Very, very, very little does this type of thing become part of the case.
Interesting.
For example, I mean, even when this was passed in California, the recreational use, which was, I don't know, was that 2015, 16, around that time? I was quick to ask our clients, how they viewed this and how it was going to affect them. And they everyone I asked said it was probably inconsequential.
If someone is caught using marijuana after an accident, do they still get workers' compensation?
That's a really good question. I think that usually there are provisions that if it's even gross negligence on the part of the employee, it's usually still compensated for.
So if you have let's say we had one of our field workers, all ours are amazing, but let's say, there's a field worker out there that decides to drink a bunch of alcohol and go get in a car. Mm-hmm. And then they get into a car accident while they're trying to serve some paperwork. Mm-hmm. It's still our responsibility. According to the law, is that how it works?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'd have to do a little research on that.
If it is, then, and if the science says that, operating heavy machinery under the use of marijuana increase your risk, then, work comp is going to get impacted.
Right.
Even if it isn't work comp, then it's also going to be impacted in a type of way too. Now they can test for this, and well, I guess they're always testing for it, but it will pull it out of the work comp system if more people are getting popped for marijuana. I think right now, like, I have a lot of buddies. It seems like when you're in the union, they've always been a lot more strict with this drug testing type policies. I got friends that are in construction. I got like pipe fitters. I know some welders, and they're all like, "Oh no, I can't touch marijuana because they do random testing, or if there's ever an accident, it's an automatic test." Gemini doesn't. I mean, we don't have to worry about the types of injuries, obviously, that construction workers do, but it's not something we've applied.
Yeah. I wonder how it's going to affect, but I think it's a good bill. I mean, meaning, the off-duty use, off hour usage, it's legal in California, recreational use, and having a test, I think, is important, though. Yeah, that kind of is the trick.
It'd be nice to not have a blood test too, like something with breath or pee. Blood just seems very invasive.
Yeah, sure does.
Like if you just smash your finger with a hammer, you got to go get a blood test.
Yeah,
it seems a little bit much.
Interesting too is that they still apply. It's called the 12-step. What's it called? 12-step. It's the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration has outlined a 12-step way for drug recognition. So there's actually certifications in California. If you're a law enforcement, you are allowed to and can take a 72-hour course to be a drug recognition expert. It's called DRE. And let me read you the 12 steps.
Okay.
So breath test, number 1.
That's for alcohol. There's no breath test for weed, right? Okay.
Correct, yeah. Second is the interviewing of the arresting officer about the suspect's demeanor and behaviors and other signs of impairment. Number 3, a physical examination, check for pulse, recent medical history, other symptoms, signs of impairment, injury, or medical condition, skin tone, speech, poor coordination, if the subject's condition seems to be drug-related, the investigation proceeds to the next step, which is an eye examination, horizontal, vertical gaze. That's number 4. Eye coordination. Then a psychological test, which is interesting, such as Rumberg balance test, the walk and turn test, the one-leg stand test, the finger-to-nose test, checking for divided attention.
Physiological test. This stuff.
Yeah, sorry, physiological. I said that wrong.
Yeah.
Vital signs is number 6. Number 7, a darkroom examination. So this is pupil reactivity to light, signs of drug ingestion. 8, muscle tone examination for rigid or loose. So this is obviously covers all kinds of
injection site.
Yeah.
When this was made, were they thinking much about marijuana? Because I'm like listening to a lot of this stuff. Like I guess the eye examination, it's more like, are your eyes red? And a lot of these things too, people can have medical conditions that create some of these symptoms. So
it seems that we've adopted an attitude, the state of California, based on this law. What we are adopting, what the governor has signed, is an attitude that it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I think it's way overdue. Think of prison systems being filled with a bunch of people smoking a little bit of weed. You think of alcohol, people get aggressive, they get violent. What do people do when they smoke weed? They eat Cheetos and sit on a couch. Like, I mean, yeah, maybe we lose a little bit of productivity because of that, but not something that we should be putting people in jail for. Yeah, I think we're ready for federal marijuana ban lift.
Yeah,
be great.
You seen a Back to the Future recently?
Yeah, I've watched those.
There's a scene that's pretty funny, and these teenage boys come up to the musicians, and the musicians roll out of the car, and all the smoke.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, we don't want any trouble with any reefer addicts. And they run
off. Reefer Madness.
It's hilarious.
You've watched Reefer Madness. Have you actually watched it?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny. I don't think it was intended to be funny back then either.
Yeah, so I think this is kind of inconsequential to workers' compensation, to employers,
Yeah. I think it's good for the state. It, maybe helps push this federal thing along. They have some scientific studies where they do comparison of all of the different types of drugs and which ones are the most dangerous or in all different ways, psychologically, physiological to other people. And marijuana is way down on the list. You know which one's on the bottom?
No.
Mushrooms, psilocybin.
Oh.
Yeah, less dangerous than marijuana.
You're kidding.
No.
Huh.
Yep. And right now we're talking about marijuana and kind of lifting things. That's what's happening right now in California as well. Oakland, California was the first city to decriminalize the possession and use of psilocybin. Yeah. So that's going to be something that people are going to talk about too. I definitely don't think that that's something that you should be doing on the job. So maybe they could figure out some tests for that as well. I think that they should funnel a bunch of money into education and rehabilitation for drugs in general. And I think all drugs should be made legal. I think it should be taxed, and that tax money should go into rehabilitation and education as why you shouldn't be doing that stuff, right? And they've had other countries where those things are working.
Yeah,
right.
Portugal decriminalized all drugs, and I haven't looked at the statistics, but I think there's a marginal effect on crime and such.
Yeah, think about there's a lot of buzzwords about Mexico and immigrants coming over, murderers and rapists and all this stuff. But you want to stop that, trafficking, make it legal here. Make fentanyl. You want to stop that? It's not too hard to do it. Have a scientist be responsible for making a drug, and while simultaneously informing the public on, hey, this isn't really something you should be doing, and if you do it, here's how you can get help and how we can systematically get you back into into society in a beneficial way.
Yeah. So that'll wrap up our discussion. Again, we'd love to hear from our audience. Subscribe, follow, comment. We're excited to hear your feedback and ideas on new topics. As always, Frank, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know how you think about smoking weed.
I'll let you know later. Okay. I'll see you next time.
Take care.